Hello, welcome. This is another introductory video to the channel. I keep making new ones because my energy is changing all the time, and then I sort of think, oh, I need to update that welcome video because it's probably quite different from what I want it to actually be. So welcome to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. You can book in for a reading with me if you would like. If you do like a reading, I do ask you to contact me any way you prefer. There's a number of different ways which I post underneath each video. I'm not always very good at posting that information on the day underneath the video, but if you look under other old videos, you'll find all the information you need. I do ask, when you book in, I do ask for a question, and it's really helpful if you just give me 1 or 2 sentences to go with your question, because it just helps me tune in and then I start to get shown stuff. Also, full names of the people involved and your full name. Nicknames you can give me, but the original names are really helpful with a surname. Photos of each other, very helpful. And then I can sort of tune in, and I can get shown stuff by spirit, my spirit guides, and I can also obviously do the cards for you. If you've got a particular question, it's just so much better if you ask me at the beginning of the reading, because sometimes people wait right to the end and then it's like we're out of time, and I'm like, oh, you know, it would have been so good just to come out with it right at the beginning. Okay, so that's kind of readings really, so that you know how I work. You know, and yeah, I mean, on the channel, it's evolving all the time, obviously. But what I've decided to do now is I do a Monday reading, a Wednesday midweek reading, and on Fridays I do a Monday reading ready for, oh, what am I saying? What am I saying? I do a Monday reading, I do a midweek reading, and I do a weekend reading. Okay, don't worry about what days of the week they go up. But the point is, for zodiacs, you're always going to get a Monday reading, you're always going to get a midweek reading, and you're always going to get a weekend reading. And that's how I'm doing it. And then in between that, I do monthly collective readings. So the monthly collective readings I do is a monthly twin flame reading, a monthly relationship reading, which can be any relationship. I do a monthly soulmate reading, a monthly physical health reading, a monthly mental health reading, a monthly money reading. So I don't call it a work and job thing because we all get our money in different ways. The twin flame reading also includes it's either your twin flame or someone that's emotionally avoidant, because it doesn't have to be your twin flame. It could be somebody that is very emotionally avoidant. That's just the energy I get for twin flame. And the soulmate reading can be your soulmate, or it can be somebody that you just have a really special bond or intense bond with. So they're the collective readings, and I do them as monthlies now. If you scroll back, there's playlists for all the readings, and if you scroll back for the collective ones, you're going to find that they were like dailies, and I used to just call them daily readings, but this is where the channel's evolving, and I think it's just much better to do them as monthlies. So that's what I'm doing. And then the hope is I'll start doing zodiac monthly readings again as well, because I do think they are quite nice. I do watch them on other people's channels, and I just kept being pulled into doing dailies, and I think my spirit guides wanted me to get the structure and the sort of basis, the foundation for the channel, doing all my daily reads. And then once they were all sorted, it's like, and that structure's taken me now. I mean, I'm so slow compared to people that have their channels, but it's basically taken me 2.5 years to get my structure right. And with the daily readings and the collective readings, it's taken me 3 years to get this structure together. Nearly 3 years, and now I think I'm ready to then therefore have the structure for the monthly zodiac readings. So, you know, spirit guides do help us, and they just it's like I get shown bite-sized information, probably because it's just the best way for me to work. Yeah, and it's called Awakening Tarot because I'm on my journey of awakening, you're part of my soul family. If you watch this channel regularly, if you resonate with my energy, you're part of my soul family. I'm part of your soul family, because it means we're all coming together on a frequency. You know, every YouTube channel is a frequency, and then we're coming together on a frequency. Now, my frequency is changing all the time, so, you know, sometimes you might resonate with my frequency, sometimes you might not. Hopefully you evolve with me, but the thing is as well, with awakening process, we can dip down, we can have regressive periods, you know, and that's where I try to be really authentic as a tarot card reader, that, you know, yes, I'm on the awakening journey, but also I am still not fully enlightened, right? So I still have ego, I still have, you know, pain body come up. And so I'm very authentic. Well, I try to be. I mean, I could probably tell more. I could probably share more with you about my life and be even more authentic. But, you know, I have to have a bit of my own privacy as well. But the point is that I try to be authentic because, you know, you just get people like, I'll tell you something, right, that I don't really, you know, this is my ego a bit, but I've noticed there's a few spiritual girls, right, who run their own YouTube channel or Facebook community, and they're so sort of like trying to expose what's going on in the matrix and be this higher vibration and, you know, all of this stuff, which is really amazing work, but then they're like posting stuff like practically naked. Showing off their boobs, everything. Now, occasionally I've done a video where I've had a bit of cleavage, you know, occasionally, just if I'm in that kind of sexual mood. But generally speaking, I don't feel the need to do it. And I'm not saying any judgment on anyone, but then just be authentic about where you are in your journey and actually just say, you know, this is where I'm at in my journey. Like, you can't say, oh, you know, I'm really awakened and if you're still behaving in those types of ways. Like, you need to kind of just be realistic about it, you know. And like, that's why obviously I you know, I'm still doing twin flame readings and I'm still doing soulmate readings, and the zodiac readings are often about love, and, you know, your ex might come back, because the way I am is that I'm still not fully enlightened. If I was fully enlightened, I probably wouldn't do those type of readings anymore, you know, but I'm on the journey with you and I'm being authentic about it. And like, I use the sexual tarot as well, and I don't mind saying it, because why not? Because, you know, I still do identify as a body as well. I'm not completely transcended all of that. And it's like, let's just be real. Let's just accept ourselves and be real about where we are on our spiritual journey, and let's not try to say we're fully enlightened when we know damn well we're not, you know. At the same time, we don't want to kind of like let our addictions completely run away with us and go back unconscious. But then again, if we have days where that happens, that's all part of the journey, you know. And I thought to myself, well, maybe those girls that are doing that, you know, that's probably what their blind spots, you know, they've got blind spots, and that's where you haven't fully done all your shadow work, you haven't fully looked at where you are. And I just wanted to include that in this introductory video, because sometimes there's a pressure that our super ego can put on us when we're going through our spiritual path and our life journey, and we see ourselves as being spiritual. And then we're just like, but damn, why do I keep doing crazy stuff or addictive stuff? Or like, why do I feel sexual? Or, you know, why do I feel addicted to somebody? Or why do I keep spending money? Or I don't know. And we know it's kind of our ego doing it, but we keep slipping into it. And I just wanted to say, you know, go easy on yourself. Don't try to be more awakened than you already are. Don't force yourself to be more conscious than you already are. You can only do what you can do. It's much better to be authentic about where you are on the journey, and just be real with yourself, you know, and accepting of yourself. And sometimes your ego is going to rise up, and then sometimes it's going to subside back down, you know, and that's all part of it. And when your ego subsides back down, you sort of enter a more conscious energy within yourself, and you're more connected to source again, you know. So it's good to reject the ego. I mean, it's good if you can kind of not always do what your ego wants you to do, because if you can kind of sometimes avoid doing what your ego is trying to get you to do, you know, like those addictive, wild, crazy things, then you do start to kill off ego. And you also learn more about your true essence, you know, because your true essence has no ego. And that's kind of ultimately where we want to get to. But for goodness sake, let's just be real about it, because you know, it's like I had people commenting on the fact that, you know, like I wear false eyelashes, or, you know, I know sometimes people judge me for my nails, but I'm like, but just be real with who you are, you know, like just because, say, like you don't have false eyelashes or nails, or you don't, say, have any kind of, I don't know, addiction left, it's not to say that you don't still have shadow sides. It's not to say you don't still have maybe quite a controlling ego still. You know, I'm sure we all know people like that, you know, they might be very eco-friendly, they might be a vegan, they might wear all natural makeup, or if it's a man, you know, vegan, very eco-friendly, doesn't drive a car. But wow, the amount of unconscious ego that's present in that person, and they're still really controlling, you know. So I just wanted to add that onto the video, because this is called Awakening Tarot. It is because this is an awakening journey that we're on Gaia, to awaken back to our true essence, you know, basically awaken back to the self, you know, awaken back to source, you know, but it's a journey, it's a process, because it's very rare that people get enlightened, even though it's possible, and it's possible for each one of us to do it, to become enlightened right here, right now. Totally disregard the ego. But very rare that people can do it, because the ego has such momentum through lifetimes, and it's got that pull, and it's always pulling you. It's trying to pull you back into the matrix all of the time, pull you back into attachments, pull you back into addictions, because the ego is very seductive, and it will keep telling you, oh, but this is more interesting, this is more fun. If you don't do this, what sort of identity have you got left? Who are you really? You've got no life. Your life will be really boring. You know, the ego is just really seductive. So we're all living with that. And, you know, so we do have to be realistic and authentic, and it's okay to have a bit of ego still, if that's where you're at, you know, because I know my superego, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself at times to try and be more conscious than I really was. And for some of us, it's just not in our unfortunately, we've got karma from past lives. So where we've got bad karma from past lives, we just haven't got that ability to just awaken here and now, like Eckhart Tolle did, or Ramana Maharishi, or Buddha, you know. But we are blessed, because we've come into the information of the awakening journey, haven't we? And that starts to make lovely little changes in our life, where we notice that we are becoming more conscious in certain areas of our lives. Like I notice I'm becoming more conscious in the way that I manage my relationships. I'm becoming more conscious in the way that of my parenting, you know, and just simple things that I'm doing. Like I'm noticing I'm more conscious and organised with, say, like my chores, you know. I'm finding it easier to work, you know, because I've got less pain body, and I'm becoming a bit more conscious, so I'm finding it easier to work. So the awakening journey is really worth it, because you start to notice these improvements, and you start to notice you're becoming less reactive to the matrix, and you can observe other people getting very reactive to the matrix, and you're going, oh, I'm not as reactive as I used to be about that. And then sometimes your ego can get really reactive, and it's okay to say, shit, yeah, I still do get really reactive sometimes. So it's just being real about it. And I think that's the difference now with the awakening and the consciousness journey, that I think a lot more of us are more real. Whereas sort of 10 years ago, it was all sort of angels and 4D and, you know, meditations and, you know, Reikis and things, and it was sort of like, well, it was lovely to feel those vibrations, but we weren't really facing the fact that we had all these shadows, and some people are just still like that, you know. Some people just still don't want to admit the shadows they've got, you know, and they can find our energy a bit repelling at times, because they're like, well, hang on a minute, you're spiritual, but then the next minute you're doing this or you're doing that. So there's nothing wrong with those girls that want to dress like that and should be a bit naked. Be a bit naked when they're doing their spiritual work on YouTube. There's nothing wrong with it, but then just be honest about it and be open and just say, yeah, you know, I still have some ego, so I get the urge to show off my body, you know. Because if you're fully enlightened, you don't see yourself as a body, so you wouldn't need to do that stuff. Like, I wouldn't need to wear these nails or get my eyelashes done and bits and bobs like that. So, you know, we're nobody's better than the other person is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I've probably said enough on it really, but it's just so that you know, because sometimes you're going to watch my readings and they're going to be very conscious. Other times you're going to watch my readings and think, God, Kerry, you know, you're going on about this attachment and I thought we're supposed to be moving away from attachments. But what I'm saying to you is I'm on this journey too. But also, the other thing I want to say is I do believe anything's possible. And it's really all dependent on your level of consciousness. And as your level of consciousness transcends and gets higher, you do start to realise that you can transform anything in your life, really, within certain realms, because the only caveat to it is that we do have a predestined path. So if it's not in your predestined path that you're going to have a relationship with a certain person, then it just won't happen, unfortunately. Or if it's not in a predestined path that you will, you know, for example, have a certain type of job. Because it's like Eckhart Tolle says, we do have a form, and that form may have certain limitations. Like, he could never really be an athlete because he's got this little old man body, right? Or he could never be a brain surgeon because he doesn't have that kind of mind. So, you know, we're working with the raw materials that we've been given. But then, you know, I do feel, for me, definitely, I do feel the expanse of the universe, and I really do feel that when it comes to relationships, if you can sense a lot of the raw materials are there, I do believe that you can get your person back. Because even relationships where I don't feel that all the raw materials have been there, I've still managed to pull them back. So, you know, and that, I know that's a bit of my ego probably coming up there, but I'm just saying it's how I work, you know. I won't go into my past life stuff, but, you know, I've done stuff in past lives. So anyway, I'll stop there probably and stop talking, but thank you so much for donations and booking in, because it does help me keep the channel going, you know, basically. But then I don't like to kind of go on about money either, because whatever's in my destined plan is destined to happen. And if the channel's allowed to keep going, it's really down to source consciousness rather than anything else. So, you know, there is no pressure to donate or book, but when you do, there is a grateful heart here. And also, I do want to reveal that I'm going to be putting this deck together. Now, it's a bit like this deck. It's going to be probably quite small like this, with just plain words on it. And then it will probably have my Awakening Tarot logo on it, which is quite a funny logo, really, because it was my ego identity, Lady K. Lady K, well, I like to call it K-Witch now, but it was Lady K originally, and it was my alter ego. It was like my egoic self when I was doing my shadow work. And then it's got Awakening Tarot underneath. So it's kind of like part of the awakening journey. So it's on the one side, it's going to have that logo, and on the other side, it's going to have these consciousness messages, and it's going to be an awakening consciousness deck. So I'm hoping that that might be something people will like, and it will also be something then hopefully that, you know, I can share, use on the channel, and, you know, also hopefully it might raise funds to keep the channel going. So let me just go and get the deck, because I created it about 6 months ago, and it's in raw forms, and I just haven't got round to actually making it up as a formal deck, but I'm going to this summer. I'm going to do it this summer, so hopefully soon it will be available. The only problem we're going to have is if you live abroad, the shipping cost will be humongous. That's the only problem we're going to have. But anyway, let's not think about that for now. So let me just pick a card to end up the introduction video. And thank you for watching, if you've watched the whole way through. That was a bit of a ramble. Okay, don't allow the mind to control you. There you go. Don't allow the mind to control you, because the mind is unreal and the only reality is in here, source. So with that, I'm sending you lots of love and peace. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for supporting. One love. You are part of my soul fam, and peace.